Is Spectora Mobile V10, aka NextGen, worth it? We're going to spend the next half an hour diving into the 10 features that they've added that I think makes it worthy of making the switch. But I'm also going to go in at the end of this video on who should not make the switch just yet. And I'll get into all that. So let's get rolling. This is going to be I would say a 30 to 40 minute webinar. We're going to cover a lot of little topics on this. It's going to be a hybrid. It's going to be a mix between presentation, and it's going to be a mix between the presentation, and it's going to be a mix of the actual bringing up the camera to take a look at how everything works. All right, so let's just get into it real quick. Who am I? My name is Chris Cochran. I am currently an active inspector down here in Pensacola, Florida. I've been inspecting for about 8 years. Retired Navy guy, did 22 years in the military, and now I've been an inspector since I pretty much got out for the most part. I have been with Spectora almost since the beginning. I definitely wasn't the first few people, but I think I was within the first 50. I signed up 2017. So I've been with Spectora quite a bit, and I've seen it go through a lot of evolutions. And I think I'm pretty knowledgeable with software. There's no way to know everything. It's complex, but I definitely feel like I know a little bit more than the average person. And so when they started to release V10, I was all over it. All right. And like I said, this is about 30, 40-minute brief. The core message, I'm just going to go over why I think it would be important to switch from the legacy app over to V10. And I'll talk about certain things along the way. And why now? I truly believe that we need to get as many people over to V10 so that we can retire the legacy app and that Spectora can focus all of their efforts and energy and resources onto getting this app as stable as possible. Plus, the web editor needs some work, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation. What am I selling? So why am I doing this webinar? Well, ultimately, I'm creating something in the background. It's called Spectora Mastery. It's not released yet, but it is going to be a soup to nuts about Spectora, basically helping new inspectors or inspectors that have been using Spectora for a while and they want to get better. And so it's going to be a massive course. And so I really just want to start releasing some information to provide people value so that you can benefit from it. We can benefit as a whole team because we're all on the same team here, and get everybody over to V10 so we can retire the old app and they're not splitting their resources. Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. All right, we're going to have a short Q&A session at the end. If you have any questions, you can ask. You can just put them in chat too if you have any questions, and we'll bring them up. And then after that, we're done. So let's just get into it. And like I said, I'm going to be going back and forth between the phone and this presentation. All right, so the first is pretty straightforward, and there's nothing to really show you on the phone. It is haptic feedback. It seems like a small thing, but it's kind of become, I think we've all become accustomed to haptic feedback, especially on the newer phones. Everything we do gives us some type of feedback, lets us know, hey, we sent this, we did this message, this happened, and we've kind of gotten used to it. Well, now you have that haptic feedback throughout V10, the mobile app. And it's very useful. It lets you know, okay, I have saved that defect. It is good. I have gone here. I have done that. And so it's a reassuring feature that I think was added. That like I said, it's a small feature, but it's definitely worth it and worthy. And I'm glad that they added it into the new app. I don't even know if they've done it on the old app. I don't think they did. I think it's pretty much the new app only. All right, so more locations. You'll see the picture on the left of this slide. More, I mean, just flat out more locations. I use them a lot. And under the legacy app, when you look at it, it's actually about half of the locations that you see here on the screen is what you're going to see on the legacy app. So it's just a lot more scrolling. So being able to just get in, do the location, and get out is extremely useful for all right, flagging. So This portion doesn't seem like a big deal, and you may not even realize you needed it in your life. But under the old app, flagging was kind of messy. And so I'm personally, I'm kind of glad that they improved this. You can see on the image on the left how the flagging looks different. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now switch over to the phone so that I can show you actually in the app. So, all right, here we have the app. So when you go into the app, I am currently in the new app under the old app. We'll go into the old app just to show you how it works. And we'll bring up a home inspection in the old app. So we'll just go into a roof section. So when you selected all of your items, okay, we're just only going to do two. I'm not going to select everything, but I'm going to go ahead and flag it. And if you look now, you can see that when you go back to your primary section, the entire thing is now flagged. And there's no way for you to know, hey, am I done with that section or not? And as inspectors, we need to know what sections are completed or not so we don't forget anything. It's super important. Under the new app, and let me go back into that. So if I go back into that, I am not done. I mean, there's more sections to select. So I have not completed that section. But once you delete the flag, then the whole section shows up again. On the new app, when you go into the report, you'll notice that under the, let's see, okay, so I have not completed the roof drainage system section yet. And so when you go back to the primary section, you'll notice that the roof section is flagged, but it also notates that it's not completed yet. So that's a real useful tool when you're going to inspection. And obviously, our inspections are pretty complex. And there's a lot of stuff. You need to know what you have and haven't completed. So that's a nice feature that definitely helps out in the report. All right, moving on to the next benefit, image sorting. So under the old way the image was sorted, when you were in the legacy app, when you tried to move the image, it actually moved the whole app when you tried to move it. So if you slid up to a certain point, it just wouldn't let you do it. So under the new system now, it's pretty slick, and it basically has it so that when you tap on the image, it then selects the image and you can drag it around wherever you want. And the mobile app itself is not moving while you're resorting the images. Pretty useful thing. Honestly, I hadn't used Legacy in so long when I really was like, hey, this is cool. This is a good feature. They're like, yeah, remember how it was in the old days? And I was like, oh yeah, that was kind of a pain in the butt. So once again, a simple little improvement, but has huge benefits. You don't want to sit there and waste time trying to sort images and you can't get it up because there's 4 or 5 rows and it's just not working right. Right, better camera integration. So this is an interesting one. I personally do not use the app camera system, and the reason I don't is because of this problem that we're about to talk about. When you have those plugins um, will, in essence, go bad over time. They won't be supported. So the software company has to switch plugins and has to update their stuff to make everything work. And when they do this, it can break stuff. And so it just makes it more difficult to try to keep up. And then couple that with the fact that you have multiple operating systems, iOS, Android, you've got multiple different devices, you've got people using older software on their phone, and then you've got different plugins. It's really hard to get everything to sync and link up. So for me, I just learned to inspect with my normal camera. I go up, I take all my pictures, and then I just add it in to the report right from and to me, it's just easier. I don't have to worry about plugins, things not working, things breaking. I don't have to worry about software updates and all those issues. But because Spectora now uses more modern coding with the underlying engine of V10, they don't have to fix as many plugin issues. And this also kind of future proofs it as well. So you're seeing more stability, better camera integration with the different operating systems and different devices because the coding is more modern. And so it's definitely a benefit for inspectors. All right. Scaling and font size. This is, I personally do not use a tablet. I put out a poll on Facebook just to see what people are kind of thinking as far as the best features. I wanted to see how it aligned with what I thought, and they were pretty much in line. I like some features better, which you'll see we're at number 5, and some people were saying this was one of the better features. But in essence, what it is, if you have a tablet, the software uses better real estate. It is just going to display better. It's going to be more useful during the inspection. And so it's a nice update for those who use a bigger tablet during their inspections. Also, and I didn't realize this for a long time, but the Legacy didn't really have a way to change fonts, where font size, whereas the new app does. So for us older guys whose eyes are going to crap, we have the ability now to make the fonts bigger, and because it is more modern coding, once again it will scale the font to what we want. So it's just a nice touch that helps you inspect better during the inspection. Coming in number 4, bugs. So there was 2 really large bugs in the app under the Legacy app that actually made your job a lot harder. One, not so much. We'll talk about that one first. The second one was incredibly annoying, and it is still there to this day. I asked a few inspectors recently, and they're like, "Yep, that bug is still there." So, because I mentor inspectors on the side, especially with the software, my template, and so stuff like that. So, hey, how is this working for you? One guy has moved to the new app, the other guy has not. So I've got kind of a good perspective on the different apps. So, in essence, the first bug was the profile pic. Pretty simple and straightforward. You save a pic to your profile from your app in your report. When you sync the report up to the web, the profile pic would literally just disappear, and nobody knew where it went. And so you had to update it from your app, or excuse me, from your web, from your photos. And that was annoying because those guys who do on-site reporting almost completely, like all mobile, and they don't even go back and do editing, they had really no way to fix it without going back and doing it back at the web or on their computer or whatever. So with the new app, that's gone. You don't have an issue with your profile pic not syncing. I don't think I've ever had any of them not make it up to the web on the mobile. So it just works. The second one was extremely annoying. So when you went into your defect and you changed it, the part that you changed in your defect, everything after it would go crazy. Like, it would just go big. I don't even know what it was doing. And so you'd have half of your narrative under the defect, or anywhere, any narrative, info, limitation, didn't matter. If you're updating it, it would go crazy. And so you could fix it on the app. The problem with that is that it took time trying to select. And my fat fingers, I'm trying to, push it and I can't select. And oh, it was terrible. So I would just go back to the web and I would do my editing at home, and I would just fix the formatting. I'd clear all the formatting and then do what formatting I needed on that defect. So it just took time. And when you had, 5, 6, 7, 8 narratives that were messed up, it was cumbersome. That is gone. That is no longer an issue with V10, and it is brilliant. I will, just a side note, I've used V10 has the option, because in order to change a defect within a narrative, you have to select it and go into it. And it's another click to change a narrative. And so people are moaning about it, and so Spectora is responding, and they're making it so that you can do a experimental defect change during inspection. The problem is I'm finding it's really buggy, and I've turned it off. I'll just do that extra click to go in to fix or update my narrative when I need to. I don't need to do all of my narratives, but I do need to do some. So I turned it off. I wouldn't recommend the experimental right now. It is a bit buggy. Just use the regular and it's fine. You go into the defect and you change it. So, and I'm not going to, so those 2 bugs were huge bugs that added time to your inspection. Those are gone with V10, and boy, good riddance. I'm glad they're gone. All right. Selected defects to the top. This one is such a simple thing. It's such a simple function. It has huge benefits, especially if you're a house that you're walking away with 40, 50, 60 defects or more. When you select a defect inside The old way, under the legacy app, you selected a defect, it just sat there how it was already ranked in your template. Now, when you select a defect, if you go back out of it, when you go back into that defect again, so say you have loose receptacles or whatever the defect is, you select it once in the living room, now you're in the kitchen, you need to go back and select more loose receptacles. When you select back into it, it's right at the top. No more scrolling. Huge benefit. And even better benefit of it is that if you're an inspect by search guy like I am, instead of inspect by click and scroll, it's also up top of the search as well. So not only do you get the benefit of inspect by searching, which massively increases your reduces your inspection time, it also is right there as well. So I am not going to show that. It's pretty self-explanatory on how that works. And so you select a narrative and it'll be there the next time you go in, right at the top. Don't need to scroll. That is a massive time saver and a huge update. I would almost, if the other two weren't as good as this one, I would say this one's probably at the top of the list. I mean, it's that much of a game changer. Um, yeah, definitely. Now, the web, just as a side note, the web editor V10 also has this function where selected narratives show up at the top. The problem is the web editor has some issues that we'll talk about at the very end. And so, um, yeah, there's that. So, okay, moving on. Number two. Oh my gosh, this is such a good one. Yes, thank you, Spectora. Sync is improved. All right. I'm going to go ahead and this is a good one. The next two are the good ones to show you on the phone so you can visually see the improvements and how much they've changed. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my phone. Just give me a second. All right. So here we're in. This one is V10. I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the legacy app just so you can see it the major difference. So under the legacy app, when you go out, you have the two buttons at the bottom, save and sync. And if you get this one wrong, so say you've gone in, you've updated your report, you've done your profile pick, you've done some narratives, and you're working through it, and then you hit sync, the sync button on the right instead of the save button on the left, you will overwrite your report. What it will do is it will pull down the fresh copy from the web and overwrite everything you had done. Very dangerous, very dangerous. So this is why this one beat out the other one, because you have a chance to blow out your report that you've worked on if you don't save it up first and then sync it down when you need to update your information. Also, syncing just works better. It's just between the web and the mobile app, it's stable. It definitely, I think, is more fluid. You have the option of a true auto sync, and even more so, even better, is that if you sync or if you have a multi-inspector inspection where you've got a couple guys on job, say two or even more, three, if you have live syncing updated, you get the benefit of what's called first in, first out. So Spectora software in the background is looking at the data that's being sent to the web. Okay. And it's saying, okay, what data is this? Okay. This was done at this time. And this next thing was done after. So I can override it. It won't say, okay, this is coming up, I'm just going to override it. It doesn't. The old way under the legacy app, it didn't compare the newness of the data coming in, and so that's where you get stuff overwritten. And so syncing is extremely safer, and having the true auto sync is awesome. The problem I will say with auto syncing, and it's why we harped really hard on including being able to turn it off, is because if you are in a weak cell phone zone, and look, I live and work in the middle of Pensacola, and we've got almost 400,000 people down here. It's not small by any means, and so but I still in this town have dead zones all over the place, and So I was finding even in this town, I thought, okay, I cut my teeth in Arkansas, and now I'm down here in Pensacola, and I said, okay, now I'm going to have stable cell phones, so it's going to be great. Well, not necessarily, and definitely not always the case. And so being able to turn off sync to ensure you have stability will keep your app, um, I think, just more stable in general. But the sync function is a huge upgrade. There's no more opportunities to overwrite your report. Now there's one button, it's called sync, and the software in the background does the magic and just makes sure everything is written correctly and doesn't get overwritten and stuff like that. So once again, a huge, massive update. As a side note, if you're still on legacy, how I got around, and you're not quite ready to make that jump yet, if you're still on legacy, how I got around not overwriting my report, this is mainly for the inspectors that are probably newer to Spectora, is I would literally change something in my report and then save it up. So I would put a profile pic, or I would just select one narrative. So it was minimal data, and I would just save it up. And that basically locked in the report. So there wasn't a chance to overwrite your entire inspection. So that's how I got around that. I would do that every time I showed up to inspection. One downside, you don't have good cell phone coverage. You ain't doing it. You're not doing it. So, because if you don't have cell phone coverage, you can't sync it, you can't save it up first, and you always run that risk. So, kudos to them for that sync improvement all around. Multi-inspector sync is phenomenal. All right, so I'm not going to go back to the screen. I'm just going to go on to the number one improvement. Actually, I am because I want to show you um, all of the goodness of this next one. That is a pretty massive upgrade. All right, and that is search. Here's why, and I'm just throwing this out there as advice, and now I'm going to get into all the improvements they did on search. But I really try to get people to take a look at it. It really eliminates the whole click battle wars. You know, people are like, oh, my software has 2 clicks to get in, and my software has 3 clicks, and your software, it takes more clicks to get in. Because remember, more clicks equal more time report writing equal less time, or less money, because you're spending more time writing your report. Search eliminates this. And I'm going to be doing a video here in the very near future that's going to show exactly why search is so amazing and how it saves you. I would say, I'm not even kidding you, 10% or more time on report writing, reducing 10%, reducing your report writing. So just wanted to throw that out there. And I'll show you why search is incredible. The problem is, if you do inspect by search versus inspect by click, you have to have your title set up, or else it's not going to work as good, near as good. And I'll show you that here in a second when we switch over to the phone. But search has been completely revamped in V10, and for the better. So let's just go down the list, and then I'm going to break open the phone, and I'm going to show you. Actually, no, I'm going to show you the phone. I'm going to bring up the phone and then just talk to it. So let me go ahead and bring up the phone. All right, we're going to the phone. Going to the phone. All right, we're almost done, guys. This is the last thing I'm going to show you. And then we're going to take a few questions. And actually, I'm going to give you my opinion on who should wait to switch and why. And then I'm going to take a few questions, and then we'll be done. So once again, appreciate your time here with me. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you for watching. So, but anyways, okay, let's get to it. So under the legacy app, you know what? I'm not even going to mess around with the legacy app. It's a legacy app. It's let's just go to the new good stuff. All right. So under V10, we'll just go into a report, and you know what? I'm going to do a search from the beginning without even. I'm going to do a search from the beginning, and not even go into a section. And we'll talk about that first. So let's bring up search, and you'll see that the tiles along the top are larger. Okay, you could select any tile you want to search into the report. And before they were real tiny, and I kept having to, once again, my fat fingers keep getting in the way. And I kept having to hitting the wrong thing, hitting limitations, not defect, and yada yada yada. Anyways, it was annoying. Now they're nice and big. You're not going to make a mistake. You can quickly just hit and go. Um, you'll notice there's one thing missing from this one that you're going to see in another one, and search whole report. The software knows that you're in a parent section. You're right at the beginning, and that it is going to search the entire report. That differs from if you go inside and you hit search. Now you'll see it adds the entire report. Pretty self-explanatory. So it gives you the option if you're inside your inside a section, you can search the entire report. But if you're not and you're searching from the primary, it's going to go ahead and remove that option and just automatically search the entire report by default. So that's a huge thing. Talked about the titles, the tiles along the top, also sticky selection. So once you go in and you do a search, so most of the searches I do are defects, and so um, I do search other things, but primarily defects. And I primarily search the whole report because the way I do it is I don't jump between sections. So if I go in the living room, I do all of my inspection. I, do the doors, do the windows, do the receptacles, do the ceiling fan, look at the walls, look at the floor, and then I gather all my defects. And then I come in here into the search and my camera's not out. I'm just inspecting that room. Then I come into my camera and I will, so say if a door, the front door is there's an issue with it, I'll do EXDO. And so it's siphoning out, there's a door gap right there. So boom, it just does it right there. Now if I go out and I go into another section and search, let's go in here. Let's go down here to this defect and search. Let's go into a different section. All right. And hit search. It remembers my settings. That wasn't the case before. And you would literally have to reselect it every time. And it was annoying. And it took a lot of time to reselect defect only, turn everything else off. The new one, it remembers it's sticky. It remembers your settings and keeps them until you change them. And that is also a massive time saver. All right. And it also added another selection that was not under the original one that's pretty useful, and that's the incomplete section. And so now you can search your defects and just zero it down to incomplete. You can also search it for flag too, but you can do that under the old search. And lastly, the next major function you can do, which is awesome, is you can limit the search to, actually this is second to last, you can limit the search to 20, 50, or 100. And so it's even in the titles, if you have a generic title like cover or something like that, it'll bring up 100. Now you can limit to 20, so it's going to bring up the top 20, which is pretty incredible. And lastly, and this one is also another huge one, under the old one, let me get out of this. Let me go into, bring it up. So you can see that under the search, it has the titles, the appliance, microwave, dishwasher, whatever. And when you do that under the old one, if you did a search for a cover plate or something like that, it would literally show everything. And there's no way to know which section am I in. Now it breaks it out very clearly. You're in appliances. This is the windows. This is the doors, whatever it is, whatever your section is for that defect. And so that helps you additionally really be able to scroll and find that item quickly. Combine that with the narrative to top and using search with the narrative to top, it crushes inspections. I mean, it's so much more quicker on site doing that. So, all right. So that's the top 10 reasons. Some of them are functionally better. Some of them help out with certain things. Some of them are overall stability. Some of the reasons to switch are time savers, massive time savers. And so, and I think there's something for everybody in there. I want to reiterate why I'm doing this webinar and this video is because the more Spectorians we get to make the switch to V10, the more people that are using the software, the quicker we can squash bugs. All software have bugs. All software has bugs. Squash the bugs, and we can retire legacy. And now Spectora can work solely on one app instead of trying to support two apps. Okay. I didn't say this in the beginning, but I'll say this now. Spectora is not giving me anything for this. This is me. This is a Spectora user. I just know the benefits of doing one thing. All right, so I'm going to get out of the app now and get back to the presentation. All right, so this is the last thing I'm going to go over, and then I'll take a few questions. If you guys have them, you can ask me anything. I've given all the reasons why I think the new app is worth it. There is a person that I think should not make the switch just yet. If you are an inspector that does a lot of your report building on the web browser at home, and there are still plenty of inspectors, especially the older school guys, that still do it back home. The Spectora Web Editor V10 is not ready for prime time. They know it. I've sent bugs. A lot of people have sent bugs. They are working on it. I know they have a lot of people, but it is not there yet. And you will absolutely struggle to build a report on the web editor. And so if you are a person who does not do it mainly on your mobile and do the vast majority of your report on site, which I do very little editing. I do the last minute looky-loos at the end, make sure my images are properly rotated, and then I do the report. So if you're the type of person that builds your report a lot back home, don't make the switch. The new web editor is just not ready for prime time. For everybody else that's primarily mobile, 90% mobile, make that switch. It's stable. It's awesome. Like, I've been using it for 6 months, and just in the past 3 months, it's become even more stable. It is now as fast, as quick as legacy. And with these benefits, there's a huge thing. So, okay. So I've said my piece about the 10 reasons why I think I had there were a couple other small details that were also a benefit, but I didn't add those to this. But there's a few other little things that are better in the new app, but they just didn't make the top 10 list. And so, yeah, there's that. Okay. So if you have any questions, please send them forward. I got one from Maddie. Thank you, Maddie, for showing up. You are a Spectora person. I appreciate you coming. I know you guys are interested to see what the inspectors are looking at and what we're seeing. And you asked, what device do you think is best used for V10? So once again, there'll be a lot more videos coming out. It really depends. If you're a person that does a lot of on-site reporting, and you use the camera on the app, then you're going to want a newer phone with the newer updated software. If you're a person that doesn't use your own camera, and then you just pull the images onto the app, you don't use the app camera function, then I think you can get away with a 3-year-old device. I'm currently using an iPhone 13 Pro Max with the latest software, and it just tears through inspections. I have no problems with it whatsoever. And that's a 2-year-old, soon to be 3-year-old device, and it's working just fine. I would say any inspector that is doing an inspection and using their mobile device, especially if it's not primarily dedicated for the inspection, so you're taking phone calls and you're doing other stuff, it needs to be no older than 3 generations back, period. You will start to struggle. Also, your battery will probably be crap as well. But yeah, and I'll be doing another video on things to do to your device before you do the inspection. Yeah, so, all right, thanks for the question, Maddie. Any other questions from anybody else here? If not, I'm going to wrap this up and tell you, thank you for coming and watching this video. The guys and gals that gave up your time, appreciate it. Hopefully you got some value of this. This is the first of many other ones we're going to be doing. And so I'm happy to do them. I'm working out the cobwebs. Sorry for the delay in the beginning. Hopefully you got some value out of this. I will be sending everybody who watches this, everybody who came, a special gift in your email. It's a download. It really is phenomenal. It gives you some great tips on how to inspect better on site with Spectora. And so enjoy that. And yeah, so that's it. No more questions. All right, we're going to shut this down and see you